AFTERBUZZ TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment. The AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California. Presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AFTERBUZZ TV Spartacus After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. If you'd like to buzz in on tonight's show, you can buzz us at 424-256-1729. That's 424-256-1729. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV Spartacus After Show.
Yes! Bing is for doing. And here we are doing another amazing after show of Spartacus Season 3, Episode 6, Mors Indecepta. Which obviously we spicy.
I already said I don't have any clue what that means.
A little clueless over here.
And
just a little.
you promised that you were going to explain that to me and the fans at home. What the hell does that mean?
Well, thankfully, in the middle of the episode, or kind of, well, a third of the way through the episode, we had Spartacus and his men try to get at Crassus in his tent.
Okay.
Right, what was supposedly his tent, and they find Donner's body crucified there with an inscription on it, Mors Indecepta. And Spartacus, because he worked with the legions, was able to translate it well, and it means death is indeceivable.
Death is indeceivable. Okay, I might not have been able to catch that part because I was staring at his Franks and beans the entire time, but we'll get to that spicy scene later. What's on the agenda tonight, Sean?
Okay, so we're going to talk about Tiberius being restored,
Okay.
which I found to be very grotesque. And we'll also talk about descent with Spartacus and Crixus. We'll talk about Kore leaving the Romans. Oh my goodness.
That was a huge surprise.
Yeah, Gannicus and Sybil finally get a little something between the sheets.
We predicted it. We definitely did.
And we're gonna, for our news and gossip section, we're gonna talk with awesome voiceover actor Campbell Cooley, who's calling us, who's gonna Skype with us all the way from Auckland, New Zealand, I believe. So
only here at AFTERBUZZ can we provide such amazing talent interviews, guys.
And by the way, if you guys don't know, Campbell Cooley, he's one of the voiceover actors for Spartacus, War of the Damned. He also worked on, I think he worked on the other two or three seasons also, rather. And for sure he was in Season 2. He was actually, we'll talk about his scene later.
He's been in 5 episodes total.
Oh, he has been in 5 episodes
he's been in 5
total.
episodes.
Oh, okay. So,
or at least that's what it said on IMDb.
But the episode that he was in was with Onomaeus' character, and that was a pretty intense and gruesome little bloody fight scene. So we're going to be talking with him via Skype and interviewing him and getting his insight on the show, and we'll talk about his projects and stuff. Anyway, let's go ahead and dive into it.
Just jump right into it, because this was a great episode. I was definitely at the edge of my seat the entire time because I knew there was going to be a lot of juice going on.
You know what? For me, I had the opposite feeling.
Really?
I wasn't on the edge of my seat the entire time. I was actually, the way it started was so different. The way just like the title came up on the screen of the episode, it was like snowy and calm, and like it was like death was slowly approaching.
And that doesn't creep you out? That doesn't make you want to like tune in for the entire episode?
I guess it did.
Had me.
It had me, but it was more like a slow kind of edge of my seat, I guess you could say. You know, I'm like, wait, what's going on? How come it's so different than the other episodes?
Well, it opened up, like you said, with the snow, but then it also showed us immediately the trench. So we already know that this is a huge hurdle for the rebels to cross over, but I felt like that was a sign that would eventually, you know, give us an explanation of why it was opening up with that. And of course, by the end, we saw with the piled up bodies. But I feel like that was something that the writers had wrote in there, and that if you were paying close attention, you would have caught that, you know, wow, it's completely hard to get across, but then by the end, we see piles and piles and piles.
Yeah, 1,000 people pretty much were piled up to make way for their bridge, and they weren't, hopefully later in the next, in the rest of the season, it's not going to be in vain, right? They'll be able to kill many more Romans at the loss of their 1,000 comrades.
Right.
But
they had to get across, okay? You gotta do what you gotta do.
They had to, man. They're like, they need to survive.
All's fair in war.
That's right, it is. And, but you know what's not fair is Tiberius getting his armor and his sword and equipment back. And I do not agree with Crassus's logic on this, but then again, it's his son.
I'm with you, Sean. I completely, at this point, in the beginning of the season, I wasn't quite sure about Tiberius. I knew he was going to be a little, spoiled weasel, but I did not know that he was going to be the actual villain this season. And after he raped Corey, I just am completely just appalled by him. And so the fact that his father is now deceived, and I thought his father knew what was up. I thought that he was in tune and, as a leader, just very insightful when he knows that someone just isn't worthy. And restoring his son's power back, I understand that's your son, you feel obligated, but Tiberius hasn't done anything to earn that position of power back. And we hate him because he raped Corey.
If there is anything that should be proof that he doesn't deserve this, it's last time he released Donner. Obviously, he was the only one who could have done it. Crassus should be smart enough to know that.
Right, he just happened to get free.
Yeah, exactly.
His son had the keys.
Exactly, his son had the keys, and it's like, okay, my son tried to dishonor us because I'm kind of putting him to the side, and he tried to kill Caesar, the guy who I'm like bringing a little bit closer. Let's give him his armor back, so he's a lot, he's more well-equipped.
But that the taking over back of the city was because of Caesar. So for him to completely just give the power back to Tiberius, and Tiberius didn't earn it, and Caesar did everything in his power, from disguising himself to pretending that he was a rebel, putting his life at risk every day with people that he hates, and possibly, it all blowing up in his face. He took a huge risk and fighting for the honor of the Romans. How are you going to not give Caesar his position of power? I just was completely baffled by that.
Well, Caesar has a pretty good position right now, but it's just always going to be second to Tiberius, because Tiberius is like, he's his son, pretty much. Crassus wants to give his son power. He wants to give his son like a shared seat, at least next to him. But he's his son. You can't deny that.
But he doesn't deserve it.
He doesn't.
I mean, when you say that Caesar has a great position, are you talking about the threesomes that he's constantly getting? Because I feel like every episode I'm seeing him having a threesome. Mind you, I don't mind at all. And after watching this episode, spicy scene, I probably will be scheduling my next boob appointment, because these girls are phenomenal.
We did forget, we forgot to talk. Let's talk about that a little bit right now. Let's talk about the spicy, sexy scenes.
The spicy sex scenes. Okay, so, Sean wants me to give a recap of all the sex scenes. There were a couple that stood out to me.
Caesar and the two girls.
Of course, the threesome. I love seeing Caesar half naked, and of course, the women that are always on this show have to be beautiful. I think even to audition.
They glow.
And then in the audition, they're probably like, "Now, take your clothes off." So I think that's a huge part of it. But of course, Caesar was getting his freak on, and another scene was the crucifixion of Donner. And I felt like that wasn't a sexual scene, but
you get to see his junk.
I love it when we get to see male nudity on the show, because we always see female nudity. So when we get to see the male nudity, I'm like, yes, girl power.
Now, did you think Donner's was actually CG, or was it real? What did it look like to you?
It was kind of big. It was at least 8 inches. If you guys at home want to get in on the conversation, let us know what you think the inches of Donner was, but and whether you think it was real or prosthetic.
It looked like, obviously because he's dead, it must have been flaccid. And in the cold weather, dude, that thing's gigantic, man.
Yeah, it still was, pretty good.
Okay, and then we had Corey and Crassus.
Once again makes love with Marcus, and I felt like he got on her about actually coming to the campgrounds, and although she went against his instruction and, defied him, he still found way to punish her sexually and make her get butt naked and have passionate sex with her. If anybody else had defied him, I think it would have been off with their heads. But because it was the beautiful Corey, of course they got to have a passionate sex scene, lots of titties. She didn't seem as into it.
No.
You know, I felt like she wasn't as enthralled with him like she usually is when they're making love. He was into it, but he didn't know any better.
It's because of that whole conversation with Tiberius. So let's bring it back again to Tiberius now. So they have a conversation about him, and the whole reason she was brought there was because she spoke to Caesar, and she wanted to get it off her chest that, hey, Tiberius raped me. Why are you letting him? Why are you going to give him Sinuessa and Valley as a city with me as like the head slave there, and you don't know that he's raping me?
Right. But Caesar says, how deeply, you know, how deep has he penetrated you?
Yeah.
But I think he meant poked.
No, but he didn't know yet. But it was just a fortuitous choice of words.
I felt like he kind of, I don't know, I felt like he kind of knew.
Yeah.
He knew it was something. In order for her to want to take his position of power and almost, you know, have him dead, it has to be something awful.
Yeah, that's for sure. So anyway, she can't bring herself to tell Tiberius's misdeeds to Crassus because she sees how much he loves his son, and he's blinded to it. That's the only thing. Not even her love between her and Crassus is his hubris. It's more like he is blinding himself to his son's misgivings, and that's why she wanted to leave him. And I thought she was going to kill him for an instant when she got that dagger.
Yeah, we saw her pull out the knife, and we weren't sure. We kind of predicted that she was going to use it on herself, but then we were like, no, she's going to use it on him. But then by the end, we saw that that was not the case, and she wound up killing one of the guards instead.
To escape, and they didn't see anybody leave.
Right.
Pretty much.
Exactly. But we were hoping, I was like, ooh, that would be good if she killed him, but she didn't wind up killing Marcus. And then I was hoping that she was going to do something to herself. But I mean, but I think that Corey's choice was probably the biggest shock on the show, because I don't think we saw that coming.
And we saw a lot of tension, other than between Corey and her. We saw a lot of tension between Caesar and Tiberius. Corey and Tiberius.
Right.
And now we saw a lot of tension between Caesar and Tiberius. They had 2 scenes together where they were just at each other's throats.
Right.
And it was really interesting to see that stuff. And now Caesar is like in a way back beneath his heel. But now, because of this new information, which we didn't get to see exchanged between Corey and Caesar, so we don't know how much she told him. But Caesar now has valuable information that he could probably use against Tiberius later on.
Well, what surprises me is that Tiberius, although he's in a position of power, he's very bold to not be that great of a fighter and to try to go head to head with Caesar when he can snap your neck like that, you know, with his eyes closed. And although he wouldn't, because his then life would be at stake, he still can do it and, you know, escape. He's more of a rebellious, you know, type of character as well. And so I just can't believe how man-to-man Tiberius is trying to go up against him.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and let's move on to the descent between Spartacus and Crixus.
There's a lot of dissension in this episode between a lot of different characters.
Yeah, so pretty much Crixus is, in a way, he's a rebel with Spartacus and all the other commanders and all the other rebels, but he's rebelling against Spartacus. He had such a great quote where, and I think you wrote it down, he wanted to...
Shall I
go ahead and
pull it up right now while we're talking about it?
He pretty much didn't want Spartacus telling him what to do anymore because he felt like Spartacus was always running away from battles.
Well, earlier he had told, so in the beginning when him and Spartacus are having the conversations, like you were saying, there was twice, he tells Spartacus about the people who are part of the camp, the other rebels, that they don't pray for a glorious death, and Crixus replies, no, they pray to be led.
Yeah.
And I feel like at that point, he's challenging Spartacus's leadership, which is a huge blow. Anytime you challenge a leader's leadership, that's going to affect them. And then the second time was when they got into it, and Crixus tells Spartacus, you are not a freaking god, or he says a different word, but here at AfterBuzz we're not cursing. He says, you are not a freaking god, and I do not heed to voice on high. And so on AfterBuzz, if you guys know, Sean and I are constantly comparing Spartacus to Jesus, who is a god. And Crixus was reminding us this episode, you are not a god, stop acting like one, you're making bad choices, bad leadership, you are not Jesus like Spicy and Sean think. Okay.
And he nails Spartacus in the face when he was like, you will fall to command. Crixus just comes back and Spartacus doesn't expect it.
Which was a low blow.
It was a low blow. He hit him from, like, he ambushed him with that jar.
Not honorable.
No, with that jar. He just smacks him in the face and all the ice and snow shatters, like, all around him.
You see blood splash from Spartacus's mouth.
Yeah, it's just like oozing out of him. And we haven't seen him get hit or nailed like that since season 1, honestly. Since, like, the arena fights, Spartacus has not been this caught by by surprise.
Oh yeah, well, you know, going up against a gladiator who's equal to you at that, and you and I were discussing it while we were watching it, I kind of think that Crixus could take Spartacus. He's had years more of experience as a gladiator and in the arena, and although Spartacus is leading them, at the end of the day, they didn't show us Spartacus getting his ass kicked as much as I felt like he really would by Crixus, because it has to be equal, but I feel like Spartacus can sometimes be blinded as well by trying to do the right thing and not what's best for the camp.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
But that fight, that was a serious fight. They were going at it.
And we couldn't even decide who won in that fight. I think the last person on top was probably Crixus, right?
Yeah.
And then
no, Spartacus was giving him some blows, and then they broke it up.
Yeah, and then Agron had to peel him off of there.
Right, exactly.
So that was an interesting fight, and we
probably
get to
not
see
the last that we've seen between them. There's always been that just anger and aggression between them.
Yeah, there's a lot more contention now between the two. And what's actually good is that each episode it almost gets resolved in a way. Because like, okay, we're fighting amongst each other, but I have this cool plan, and they get together again. Like we see later in the episode, like 3/4 of the way through the episode, Spartacus goes to him, and then Crixus ends up saying, "Stop speaking to me in riddles. Just tell me plainly what you want."
Right.
And he says, "Okay, this is what I want to do." And then we get to see the plan unfold when they attack the wall and everything.
Well, I thought that was very insightful too of Spartacus, because Crixus just wants to fight. That's all he knows. He wants to fight, use his body, his swords, and just kill. Spartacus is like, let's think this through. We've seen on multiple occasions that Marcus has deceived us. Not everything is as it appears. And so more than likely that bridge that they've created, or that trench, is probably not filled with all kinds of Romans back there. I think that we can take them.
It's just an illusion.
It's just an illusion. And so because he foresaw this and it actually came to fruition, I feel like now Crixus can have a little bit more respect back for Spartacus for, you know, the guidance that he's providing.
Crixus is such a tamed beast, but he is still a beast, and Spartacus needs to like direct him towards like where he's going to attack, you know?
Right.
And that's exactly just thinking about it while you've been talking, it's just like, wow, that's exactly what Crixus is. Well, and Spartacus is like the master in a way.
The scene where he starts taking on, you know, those 6 or 7 Romans after Naevia gets hurt, or what did she get, sliced in the stomach and in the leg
like
or something like that?
I think she got nailed in the face, I think, and she was just unconscious in the snow.
Right.
But
Spartacus saved her, though.
He did save her, and he was using reason, like, okay, we need to retreat, and then Crixus goes back, and because he hears the Romans call him a coward, he takes the rest of like 6 or 10 guys
Takes them out. Yeah, that's so. Like you said, he's an animal. He's a monster, but you know, a sexy one at that. Just gotta say.
Hey, don't forget, you guys, check out the iTunes account for AfterBuzz TV. Go to the iTunes store, type into the search bar AfterBuzz TV Spartacus, or hey, you know what? You can actually just type in Spartacus, and we're like the first or second one that comes up. Woot woot. And you guys can download the podcast here. We get them up like within the hour, I think, right after we do this live podcast on the website. You guys can download the podcast, rate and comment us, give us 5 stars. We're at 4 right now. We want that 5.
We deserve 5. Come on now.
We deserve 5, guys. And tell a friend, because it only takes a minute. And we have a few tweets that I want to talk about with some of our fans tweeting at us. Crowboy, he just tweeted at me a few hours ago.
Nice.
And I was tweeting pretty much saying that, hey, I haven't watched the episode yet, but I'm going to. And he tweets at me, he said, at Sean Austino, ooh, it was a good one. and I agree. I agree with you, Spicy. You know, it started slow, like I said earlier, but eventually it ended up being an awesome episode. And I actually thought that Spartacus may have gotten captured this episode, but thankfully he didn't.
Nope.
So at God GVN Peace. Oh, I guess that's at God Given Peace.
Sean can read, folks.
she tweeted at me and she said, at Sean Austino, when will the Spartacus podcast from Friday post to iTunes? Well, we don't do it on Friday, actually.
We have a little bit of a social life. It's kind of my fault. We do it Sundays now.
We're like super busy, you know, and no one's here at AfterBuzz Studios on Fridays.
I know, Sean, you're married. I'm in like a hot, steamy relationship. So Friday nights is like date date night. We got to do it Sundays now.
I thought you were going to say hot, steamy bath.
Oh, that too. You know, all that goes down.
So Sasha Montrez at @loveandlibra_, she tweeted at me saying, and Spicy, saying, finally, Gannicus and Sybil, I knew he liked her.
Yes, and we're going to talk about that too. Can we just mention it really quick that they hooked up? Because we want to make sure that we have time to make sure that there's enough room to talk with Campbell. But finally we see, as we predicted, Sybil and Gannicus hook up. And unfortunately, it was him trying to save her in this savior role that he always has. But I don't know if she's doing this in order to get him in the sack, but whatever she's doing, it worked. You know, she's young, she's hot, she's sexy. She might even be a virgin, so she's really tight. Yeah. And so him knowing that, and Saxa already giving him an opportunity to sleep with her, he turns that down, being the smart man that he is. But later on, in a moment of vulnerability, in a snowstorm, winds up finally hitting it.
You know, they probably both thought that they were going to die. So that's why they ended up, you know, like,
Gannicus.
Hey, that's what Saxa wanted.
One of the gods of the arena did not think that he was going to die. He saw a moment of opportunity to be warm and toasty inside of her wombs, and he hopped on it. And we already saw this happening. We knew that it was going to happen. I mean, we were kind of excited. There was sexual tension there the entire time. I don't knock him for it, but at the same time, I feel like later on, he's going to have to face that with Saxa. She's not going to be cool because it was behind her back. It's one thing when she offers, it's another thing when it's deception. And a woman has that intuition, and she definitely showed that when he brought her, when he brought Sybil back to the camp. She looked at Sybil like, you ratchet.
I bet she's going to be able to smell the woman stink on him.
Yes.
But they were out there. It was so funny because, you know, I'm such a nerd, but when they're out there and they're looking for a place like shelter in the snow, I'm totally thinking Star Wars.
Oh, yeah.
Empire Strikes Back, where they're like, oh, there's a tauntaun out there. Let's cut it open and be inside of it.
Right.
You know, only this time Gannicus was inside of her to keep warm. And he kept her warm, too.
But Gannicus was the only one trying to stay warm during this snowstorm. As we predicted, once again, because we have this amazing intuition here at AfterBuzz, Spartacus and Laida finally get a little cozy. They're getting closer. We saw on the previews that eventually there's going to be a hot and steamy kiss and hookup. But this episode, we saw her share a blanket with him, which was the next step towards intimacy.
It is, you know, and that's the whole thing about dating. I don't know if you guys, like, I've read some. I'm not a player anymore, but I did read this, you know, quite a few books on like pickup artistry, and it's all about escalation, and Laita, she's escalating it with Spartacus. She at first she finds him disgusting. He killed her husband pretty much, but you know, it's like that Stockholm syndrome. You know, he's got her like
that's exactly what it could be,
as a captive.
Her people turned on her.
And she sees him as like this great leader, and he's like this beast that has a great wound in his heart.
He needs to be healed.
He needs some healing.
And she's like green and pale and pasty from her wound, so she's extra vulnerable and lonely too. Not, you know, really quite sure she's gonna find love again. Spartacus is, you know, her best bet. So she's not gonna turn that opportunity down. Next episode, we're gonna see something hot and steamy between them.
And pretty much like Gannicus and Sybil, like Spartacus and Laita, you know, these are two parallels that are going on for me right now. They could die any day now, so why not share some love with somebody who's next to you, right?
Well, that was Saxa's point when she was trying to get Gannicus in the sack. She's like, you know, if I die, I'd rather, you know, go out with a bang and at least have you inside of me. And of course,
take that memory to the afterlife.
Right, and take that memory to the afterlife. That's the exact quote. And so he winds up turning it down because he sees that poor little Sybil's, you know, lurking in the corner, and he doesn't want to disappoint. So at that point, we already know, okay, he's gonna tap that. But, you know, I agreed with Saxa. Like, let's just get it popping before we die.
Yeah. Let's wrap up with talking about the episode with Kore leaving the Romans. Okay, so we talked a little bit about Kore and what's going on with her. So pretty much she's just disappointed how Crassus is so blinded to what's going on. And she wants to tell him, but she can't bring herself to because she doesn't want to disappoint him in his son.
Well, I was watching the episode with my boyfriend because I was really surprised that she chose that route. And in his opinion, he was saying that as a woman, she felt like, you don't really love me in this moment. You're choosing your son over me. Therefore, I must eliminate myself from the situation.
From the equation.
Right. And I thought that she was choosing to be a part of the rebels in order to help kind of maybe help their win, kind of like undercover the way Caesar did. And he was like, absolutely not. She's brokenhearted that she wasn't chosen by the person that she loves. He pretty much gave her away to Tiberius. And as a woman, she took that, of course, personally and emotionally went to the rebels.
You know what? Actually, one of our other fans, they tweeted at me and they were talking about that same thing. It was, who was it? Oh, it was God-Given Peace, at God-Given Peace again. She said, why would Crassus give Kore to Tiberius? And with lots of exclamation and question marks.
Right.
And he wasn't doing it willingly. He's just foggy on what's going on, and he thinks that he's doing both of them a favor. It's like, hey, she is like a mother to you, Tiberius.
Right. It's more of a nurturing thing.
Yeah, and to Kore, it's like, okay, he's going to protect you now because he cares for you so much, but he doesn't know what's happening behind the scenes. He doesn't know that he raped her.
Right.
So it's just obviously that Crassus is blinded to what's going on, and he just thinks he's doing them both a favor, when in reality, he's really doing Kore a disservice.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, you know, a girl's got to do what a girl's got to do. So she left and went a part of the rebels. And so let's see if she winds up hooking up with anybody else, any of the gladiators.
Ooh, that would be really sexy. But who would she hook up with? I can't think of.
We definitely know Agron and Nasir aren't.
They're a pair.
They're not an option. But what we didn't talk about was Nasir protecting. Am I saying Nasir? Am I saying it right? Okay.
Yeah, Nasir.
You know, you guys get on me at home if I mispronounce. So I've been watching it 2 episodes at a time, or multiple times in order to try to get this right. But Nasir, once again, protects his lovable pirate from
Castus.
Yes, when he spilt his food out of his hands and he's threatening him and started.
Britius?
Yeah, Britius. Yeah, he started, wailing on him because, of course, he was a part of the pirates that set them up. But Nasir comes to his aid, of course, and there's still flirtation going on that I think is low-key disrespectful to Agron, but he continues with it and winds up letting Agron release him.
Yeah, he ends up convincing.
Or encouraging him.
He encourages, convinces him in a very diplomatic way, I'm sure.
Yeah, with a twinkle in his eye.
Yeah, and he ends up releasing him, and he's like, you know what, don't think this is a favor. Agron is talking to Castus. He's like, you know, this isn't a favor. If it wasn't for Nasir, then I'd have this knife in your belly, pretty much.
And you know he wants to go at his throat. Eventually, we might see that he just kills him just because. But on this episode, we actually saw him step up. Although he is a pirate and can't be trusted, he winds up fighting amongst Agron and killing the Romans, kind of proving his loyalty and his worth at the same time.
That's right. I was just going to say that. I don't see it going the way where he's going to betray anybody. I feel like I think he's going to die in battle alongside the other rebels, and he's going to be a little bit more honorable than he was previously.
And Nasir gives him a kiss right before he dies. A little peck or something. And Agron catches it. That's my prediction.
If they're alone. Yeah. And then he thinks no one's going to see, but Agron's going to be like, oh, that sly dog.
Right. You've been with him the entire time. How dare you? It's going to be something crazy, something Shakespearean.
Yeah. So before we get over to Campbell, do you want to do some favorite quotes?
Yeah, let's do that really quick. Because we want to make sure we get Campbell.
This was a really quote-rich episode. I enjoyed it so much. Wine and the warmth of your thighs is all comfort I need. And that was from Caesar to...
The warmth of your thighs.
The warmth of your thighs. That was to the 2 beautiful ladies he had in his tent.
Love that scene. It's making me reconsider the whole threesome thing. If I am for afterlife, then I will take memory of your cock inside me. And that was the quote from Basaxa, which I absolutely loved.
Nice one.
Go ahead.
Jupiter's cock.
Your favorite. Sean's going to find Jupiter's cock in every season.
No one, they haven't been saying that much this season. Probably 2 or 3 times they've said it, and we're already on 6 episodes into the season. And that was one of the, I guess the horrors said it to Caesar.
That's Sean's favorite quote, you guys. I hear him even saying it when we're not watching Spartacus. In chains and bloody, you still attempt to flatter. And that was Nasir with the pirate guy. What's his name?
Castus.
Castus.
We finally got his name.
Yeah, we were waiting and waiting for them to say his name again. We were like, what's his name?
I need no reminder of past generosity. And that's Caesar saying that to Crassus when he was like saying, hey man, what's going on here? Why is your son like getting all this stuff or whatever?
Right. I remember what you've done for me, but skip all that. You're punking out now.
Yeah,
that's pretty much what he was saying.
But he had to fall to command after that scene.
Okay, so I already told the ones from that Crixus had said to Spartacus. And, how deeply have you been pierced by the boy? And so that was when I had mentioned that I felt like Caesar kind of knew that there was something going on sexually between Tiberius and Kore. But, you know, come to find out they wind up tag teaming and they're going to get Tiberius.
Yes, they probably will. Cut circle with straightest line and give voice to what you would have of me. And that was Caesar to Kore.
That was a good one.
That was a really good one. And that's like, hey, get down to it. Tell me what you want. Be straight with me.
Just get to the point, yeah.
They have so many nice, cool, colorful ways of saying, hey, stop speaking in riddles and just tell me what's going on here.
Right, exactly. I'm done with my quotes. Do you have any more?
Your thoughts were true. There stand only a few hundred. Then let us warm the night with their blood.
Right.
And that was Crixus and who was it? I think Agron. They were saying that. Or no, it was
At
actually
the ending scene?
Spartacus, actually. Was it Spartacus who said that? And Agron. I think it was...
It was Spartacus and Agron. Crixus was mostly yelling, like,
Yeah.
ah. And then it went to Spartacus and Agron ending.
All right, so let's go ahead and call up Campbell Cooley now.
And give everybody at home a little background. While he's trying to pull up Campbell, let us know all the fans at home and remind us exactly who Campbell Cooley is, because there's so many amazing characters that come on Spartacus. There's been several seasons. If you're a loyal diehard fan, you've been watching just like us. And we get sad every time a character dies or leaves the show, but we get to see them in additional projects later on. And Campbell was one that Sean, you specifically remembered as being with Onimaus.
Yes, he had a really good scene with Onimaus, but I actually think Campbell's on the Skype right now. Campbell,
Yes, I am.
All right, Campbell, hey, thank you so much for joining us via Skype. Welcome to the AFTERBUZZ TV show for Spartacus, man.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
So tell us a little bit about your character on the show in season 2 and the other work that you've done on the previous seasons as well, and including this season.
Well, he's a sort of a short-lived character. He was an opportunistic bounty hunter who knew about this bounty for all the slaves that were now on the run, and happened to spot Onimaus at a gladiatorial thing and decided, hey, it's time to cash in. And it was probably the stupidest thing he's ever done.
Very nice. Okay, so right now in studio, we're looking at a picture of you on the screen. So you got some raggedy looking clothing on in this scene. You got your beard all grown out, and you got your hair like nicely oiled and falling.
But let me tell you
onto your
what's
shoulders.
amazing about Campbell is I pulled up several different projects that he's been on. He is a chameleon. He doesn't look anything like the way he does in Spartacus on any of his other projects. He literally transforms himself for every single character that he plays. So kudos and bravos to you, Campbell.
Thank you. Thank you. So, gosh, I'm not quite sure where to go from here. So give me some direction.
Okay, well, tell us, how did you get started with acting?
I would have to blame my mother for that. She, got me involved in a few little plays when I was a child. And then when I started going to university, I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do with my life. And so I started studying communications. And then my sophomore year, I started taking some acting classes, and it just all sort of evolved from there. I got a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Theater, and then found out the hard way that it's very tough to make a living in theater. So I opted to get a film acting agent, and within a few weeks I was auditioning for stuff, and within a few months I was working on Xena.
All right, very cool. And Robert Tappert was one of the producers for Xena, am I right?
Absolutely.
Yes. So you've been working with Robert Tappert for quite a while then, of course, with Spartacus, with the whole series here, and then with Xena. Did you do any work on Hercules as well?
I had a really fun role on Hercules. I got to work opposite
so cool.
amazing Joel Toback. Got to play a kind of a stupid sidekick to his Deimos. And I got to play another kind of low life on Legend of the Seeker. And I've only met Rob on 2 or 3 occasions, so we don't really know each other that well. But he's a lovely guy, and he's really friendly, and I think he's incredibly talented. So I'm just incredibly fortunate to have been on so many projects that he's worked on.
When you did Xena, Warrior Princess, and then also Spartacus, did you run into Lucy Lawless again at all?
Yeah, yes. I had the fortune of being beat up by her on at least 3 episodes of Xena. I ran into her on Spartacus, but it had been a few years. I don't think I'd seen her since probably 2001. and we crossed paths. And because my appearance is usually changing, I wasn't sure if she recognized me, and I sort of said, oh, hi, I don't know if you remember me, but you've, kicked the crap out of me a few times. And she knew who I was, so.
She's like, oh, yeah, I remember whooping that ass.
So what attracted you, Campbell, to choose Spartacus?
Well, I mean, what sane actor wouldn't want to be on one of the coolest shows on the world right now?
Oh, yeah.
And when it started filming, obviously, I was doing whatever I could to get an audition. I did get the audition, but one of the hardest things about being an actor is you're always gambling. It's like, okay, and if I accept this role, is there a bigger part down the road on this series that maybe I should hold out for? And they offered me this part, and it was only 2 scenes, and then I get killed, and I thought, gosh, should I hold out for something bigger? And then I thought, are you crazy? You get to work with Peter Mensa,
Right.
So I didn't care that I was going to get killed off. I was like, yeah, I just want to work with Peter Mensa. So I was like, yeah, sign me on.
Well, IMDb has you as having been on there 5 episodes from 2010 to 2012. Is that wrong? It wasn't 5 episodes, it was just 2?
I need to clarify something. Unfortunately, a lot of people think that I physically played other characters, and I didn't. I actually provided the voice for some other characters.
Oh, wow.
There's probably the most famous one, obviously, is Ixion, the guy who was the pit fighter who liked to carve people's faces off and then wear them in his next match.
Oh, that guy.
So your voice was better than his actual voice then, if they chose you.
No, I don't think that was the case. It's just the way it evolves sometimes. I go in to do a voice job, and they just say, okay, here's what we have for you today, and I'm just like, okay, fine. I guess I'm fortunate in that I've gotten to do a lot of voice work in my past, but I also have done a lot of voice work for the series as well, because I like to think maybe I can do different kinds of voices. And Ixion was one of a few. There was actually a lot more that I did, but that are not listed on IMDb. But Ixion was fun, and I think it took me a day or 2 to recover after doing that voice because it was so gravelly and so deep.
Can you do a little bit of Ixion for us right now?
Oh my gosh! Oh, you're putting me on the spot. Okay. Basically, he does the fight. He carves the guy's face off. He holds it up to the crowd, and he says, "You want to face me?"
Yeah.
Wow, that was amazing.
Very good.
I felt like I was in it. That was
Bravo.
good. We put you on the spot, and you mastered that.
Okay, so who's been your favorite antagonist or villain from the series so far on Spartacus?
Oh, now that's a toughie. You see, I think the most people would go with the obvious characters,
Like Asher.
some of the bigger characters. But I'm sort of more attracted to the smaller, lesser-known characters. And one of my favorite, he was only in 2 episodes, is Marcellus. Now, Marcellus was the guy who Asher would go to. He was the go-to guy that Asher went to when they needed information or prostitutes and that sort of thing. And if you don't remember who Asher is, so if you don't remember who Marcellus is, sorry about that, Asher goes to get something from him. He needs information, and he has his face shoved down into a rotting limb with maggots.
Yeah.
Remember that,
I
totally.
remember that scene, yeah.
And the guy that played that is a guy named Matt Galanders. He's a fantastic actor, and Matt and I are really good friends, and he has no qualms about admitting that when they shot that scene, he actually put the maggots in his mouth for effect.
Oh,
Wait,
right.
real maggots?
Real maggots.
Oh my God.
Very cool. That's amazing behind the scenes stuff, man. Thank you for sharing that, Campbell. You heard it here first at AFTERBUZZ.
Right, exactly. AFTERBUZZ exclusive.
Yeah.
So we have to know, because we have studied the actual footage as far as the workouts are concerned, and we want to know, did you go through any rigorous training in order to be on this show? Because I feel like every single person has to go through like a boot camp. Were you part of that, or did you just get to just show up on set one day?
No, okay. I thought I was going to get off easy. I thought it was, they actually, Unfortunately, the scene that I had with Animaeus, all of my contributions to the fight actually ended up on the cutting room floor. But I did actually have to go in for training for one day, and I got to sort of roam with the giants and the titans, and I was feeling very inadequate. And I had to do the sort of basic morning workout, and let me tell you something. Whew, I'm out of shape. Those guys, man, they're wow.
They train hard, right?
It was tough. It was really tough.
Now, I'm going to ask you one more kind of awkward, uncomfortable question. As Spicy Muddy, I am capable and privileged of doing that. I have this thing or this theory that everybody who also auditions for Spartacus has to audition naked. Did you? Is that true? Tell the fans at home. We just want to know.
You know, that's when people find out that I was on Spartacus, the first question they ask me is, did you have to take your clothes off?
Exactly. See? I'm not crazy.
And, I don't know. I'm sure you've seen the photos of me, without the makeup and stuff. And, I'm not the eye candy of the show.
Oh.
So, no, I didn't have to do anything dodgy or anything like that. So I'm sorry to disappoint.
Dang it. Well, it's not too late to send us some photos of you nude. Just so you know. I'm just playing.
So again, you were just talking about that scene with Animaeus. Okay, so pretty much what your character does is he follows Animaeus because he kind of recognizes him, right? And he follows him outside to the streets in season 2. And I think, was this episode 1 or 2?
It was episode 1.
Okay, it was episode 1, right? So you follow him out to the streets, you confront him with some of your henchmen, right? And you say to him, "Are you Animaeus?" And then if you are, if you give me the information where Spartacus is, I'll let you go. And I might let you live, pretty much, right? Something to that effect. And what does Animaeus do? He grabs you and he pretty much, can you describe that scene a little bit?
Sure. And this isn't a criticism or anything, but with any kind of show, there's so much writing, and the writing is fantastic, but then sometimes there's not enough time to show an entire scene, so lines get cut and various other things. And I actually had a little bit more dialogue in that scene when I confronted him and said, "Oh, look, you're Botiotis's man," and he says, "No." I actually went into this little description of like, "Oh, no, I know it's you because I saw you fight Theocles and you're the only person to survive." So that would have been adding salt to his wound.
Yeah.
So the scene plays out. And one of the things that attracted me to the scene, apart from Peter, is that it has this kind of real cat and mouse quality to it. And I really wanted to play that. So we did the cat and mouse thing. And of course, the downside was I actually thought I was the cat, and I was really the mouse. So Peter goes to kill me, and what's interesting is that up until that point in the series, I was actually supposed to die one of the most gruesome deaths they'd had in the show up until that point. But in the end, I think maybe there was a cost factor involved, and I got changed to getting stabbed with a knife. But as I told you the other night, Sean, what was actually supposed to happen was he was supposed to take his hands and rip my throat out.
Yikes. So you ended up...
And I had a plaster cast and everything. They were making up what they needed, and then for whatever reason it didn't happen. But that's okay.
Yeah, and then so instead he just ended up daggering you through the chin, right, up into your head.
Yeah, pretty much. There's something else about that scene that is sort of I suppose it's kind of funny. I'm a bit of a clean freak. I really don't like being dirty on any level. If I have dirt under my nails, I go crazy. And when I was cast, I thought the name Dirty Bastard meant pretty much I thought it was a testament to his character. So I put on, I get suited up and they put on the wig and everything, and I'm thinking, hey, sweet, fantastic. And then I was guided into a separate room where 3 people spent the next 12 minutes covering me from head to toe with dirt, filth. I don't know what was in this box. I don't want to know what was in this box. Oh. They covered every crack, nook, and crevice in my body, and I was just like, ah. So we shoot the scene, and And then, as you know, it ends with me laying in the street dead. And the makeup artist came up and just began to pour blood all over me.
Oh.
So not only am I completely covered in filth, now I'm covered in blood as well. Now, the shooting ran just a little bit long that day, so I didn't have, and I had an appointment like a half hour after I finished filming, and I had to be on the other side of town, and I didn't have the chance to take a shower or clean up.
Oh my God.
So I literally just took off the costume, we took off the wig, I threw on my clothes, and I drove like a maniac to get to this next meeting, completely covered in blood and dirt. And I've sometimes wondered what would have happened if a police officer had pulled me over.
That's hilarious, man.
And you have to explain, no, I'm really an actor on that. We just did an episode of Spartacus.
I haven't killed anybody. I haven't buried any bodies. Just let me go.
That's so awesome that you were able to be a part of that. Because one thing that I always comment on when comparing Spartacus to other shows is the realism involved. It's so realistic, and the makeup is so intricate. Every single detail, from the scrapes to the blood to the cuts, everything. And so the fact that you got to be a part of that is just amazing to me, because I know that takes a lot of time, right? About how many hours did it take you to get covered and all that?
What in the initial filth?
In the initial filth, yeah.
I think the makeup and the costume didn't take that long, strangely. I think it only took about maybe an hour. And then they took about 15 minutes to cover me in dirt. And then the blood, well, they just came up and just started pouring it on me. So
But it wasn't
no
real
time
blood.
whatsoever.
It was like ketchup or something, or?
No, it's some kind of, I think it's some kind of glucose or something, but they've added some stuff to it to make it really look like blood.
It would have been cool if it was real blood, though. I would have really respected Spartacus show if it was.
So Campbell, you live over there in Auckland, New Zealand, right? Where like they shoot a lot of the show, pretty much, like pretty much all of the show, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so do you live like down the street and nearby like some of the other cast members, and do you hang out with them often?
With any show, once it's done, people tend to kind of like just spread out, looking for more work. So it's a very kind of unpredictable industry. You don't always see people you've worked with on the show. You may not see them for a long time. But there are a few people in the show that I hang out with sometimes, but I'm only going to mention one. I'm really good friends with Barry Duffield, Lugo.
Yeah,
Oh,
Lugo.
cool.
And Barry and I get together every now and then, and we have coffee, or we might, get together for a wine or something. And he's just lovely. He's like this giant teddy bear. You'd never guess that from his character on the show.
Well,
Yeah, he looks so tough.
That's super cool. We got to start. Are you on Instagram or Twitter?
Yeah, we actually got to start wrapping
We got to
up.
wrap up, but we would love to hear. Can you tell us what other projects you are a part of that we can expect to see you in, or anything you're working on right now? And let us know where we can find you on Twitter and Instagram as well.
Sure. Just doing some voice work for some kids shows, producing a documentary. I've been approached to act in a thriller, which may shoot later this year, but more on that later. And I'll see if I can send you a photograph of the last time Barry and I hooked up.
Oh, cool. We would love that.
Very cool. That would be awesome. So yeah, I think that's about it. Like we don't.
If any fans want to find you or
Yeah.
possibly stalk you, Campbell, where can they find you at?
Yeah.
I'm on Twitter. It's simple. It's just at Campbell Cooley. I've got a fan page on Facebook, also Campbell Cooley, and I'll just put up links there if there's other stuff for them to check out.
Awesome. Well, Campbell, we really appreciate you calling in via Skype all the way from Auckland, New Zealand, and thank you so much for being on AfterBuzz TV with us. We really appreciate it, man, and we would love to like have you on, like maybe in the future for some more podcasts and stuff.
Yeah, whenever you come out to Cali, please let us know.
Oh, look, I tell you what, I can't thank you enough. I really have enjoyed myself. I've been looking forward to this all week, and definitely, if I make it out there, I will be in touch. But in the meantime, I'm sure we'll hook up online at some stage.
Definitely. Please keep in touch with us. We're going to continue stalking you like we usually do to make sure we get you back on the show.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Campbell.
All right, bye-bye.
So let's go ahead and move into predictions.
Oh, no music first? Okay, there it goes.
There we go.
There it goes.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV
Prediction.
predictions.
So I feel like Crassus will have another big engagement with Spartacus pretty soon, probably in the next episode or two. Next episode, they might go kind of light on it because it was a big battle this time.
Yeah. Some fans have predicted that Navy is going to die. So I kind of maybe think that they're not far off from that. I think that her time is coming, stab by stab, wound by wound. And then also, I think that Laida is going to, of course, sleep with Spartacus at some point. They're going to hook up. But he's not really going to give her heart to him because he's never able to, any relationship that he's in.
And she doesn't want his heart either. She wants his cock.
Exactly, his cock. And I think that Sybil has an ass kicking coming from Saxa coming up.
I feel like Caesar and Tiberius are going to butt heads again, and they may even actually draw blood with each other in the next episode. Yeah.
I would love to see, in order to hurt Marcus and in order to hurt Tiberius, I would love to see Kore hook up with Spartacus, kind of like steal his heart from Laida. I would love to see that. Something with Kore and Spartacus, I feel like.
Threesome between Late, Kore, and Spartacus.
That was Sean's prediction, y'all. I'm not responsible for that threesome.
All right, well, I think that's about...
That wraps up the show for us for Spartacus. Shout out to Campbell for definitely being an amazing guest and allowing us to ask some crazy, spicy, off-the-wall questions and being a great sport about it.
Behind the scenes stuff. You can find him at Campbell, which is spelled C-A-M-B. Is it P-B-E-L-L. Cooley, C-O-O-L-E-Y on Twitter. And he has a Facebook fan page too, Campbell Cooley. And you can follow me at Sean Austin O on Twitter, and you can also follow me on Instagram at itsseano.
And you can play with my Twitter day and night at spicy_Mari, or you can stroke my Instagram at spicy_Mari. Whatever you like, guys.
Stroke the Instagram. Very nice. Okay.
As long as you find it.
And we had so many fans that, other than the ones I read out, that gave us tweets this past week. And, oh man, we had like 30 plus comments on YouTube channel for us. So, hey, keep the conversation going, guys. We'll try to get to you next week. And other than that, we'll be buzzing with you later.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.